Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for cannabis.
Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana, New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. Welcome to CMMNJ TV. I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana, New Jersey. I'm here in the Princeton Community TV studios today with Jon Peditto. Jon is a master grower and a photographer from the Jersey Shore area. So thank you for coming to CMMNJ TV today, Jon.
I'm glad to be here.
So, Jon, now you were, as I said, you are a photographer, and you've been a grower for a number of years. You have on your business card that you're a master grower and an activist and a promoter. Tell us a little bit about that. You have a website called the Garden State Cannabis.
Originally, the title Master Grower came from the internet when I was looking for work in the cannabis business. And in Canada, when you're running dispensaries or factories, the supervisors, the people who grow the plants, who supervise the workers who do what they do, it was titled Master Grower, so that's how I took it. I'm really a master of nothing, especially marijuana. It's just a job title I got offline. I'm really just a grower, and I've been doing it for a good part of my adult life. Since, I think it's 35 years on my card. You could add another 2 since I've been out, since my arrest, and I have the cards printed. But yeah, marijuana is one of the many plants I grow, and I consider myself pretty knowledgeable on the subject of cannabis.
But as you said, you alluded to this arrest now. In August of 2012, you were arrested by several members of the law enforcement groups outside of Egg Harbor Township, where you had one of your grows. And you now, basically, you find that when you go to court, you're facing 31 years in prison for being a gardener, basically, for a nonviolent offense, that marijuana offense. To face 31 years in prison just seems like an outrageous thing to have to face. So how are you dealing with this, Jon?
Well, keep in mind the 31 years was not there from the onset. There were many, many plea deals from the early stages of this. It really is a long story from my arrest to the bail. To get to 31 years is really what happens when you go to trial. This is the way they discourage you from talking about it to a jury, and it's very effective. You go from drug court to where I was to 31 years. I have my reasons for not going to drug court, and why am I risking my life now when I could have had drug court? I mean, I get this all the time from people. How could you do that? How could you not take this plea deal? I don't know how much time I have here, but I would like to get into it briefly. Drug court is not probation. You're committing yourself into essentially a drug rehabilitation program where you are signing papers saying you're no longer in control of your life. For 5 years, you literally are so out of control, you now need an agency to take over your life. And those are the papers you're signing, and it's real. I have in here the drug treatments that they have for marijuana use disorder. And I'll get into that a little bit later about some of the drug treatments that they have. But just know drug court is not probation. You are sick. You are so sick, you're committing yourself. And I don't think people are aware of this, that quickly sign on to drug court for marijuana issues only. It just doesn't belong there. The treatments themselves are far more dangerous than marijuana itself. You can go on about opioids and cocaine and those things, fine, maybe some intervention is useful.
So that's probably where drug court does have some meaning for repetitive heroin addicts and methamphetamine addicts who really do have a compulsive need to use this substance and who find themselves facing criminal charges because of this overpowering need that they simply can't control.
It's that's being addicted. But make no mistake about it, they treat marijuana identical. They make no distinction between the 3 or even the 4 because pharmaceutical meds now are a big part of what they do. The knowledge now that Percocet is a heroin pill is finally starting to come of age, and people are starting to realize that this is true, that it is the true gateway drug to heroin use. It's 80% of all Percocet users end up on heroin. Percocet alone kills more people than all illicit drugs combined. And yet none of these things are ever talked about, and the pharmaceutical industry just skates through this as heroes because you hear FDA approved pretty much for every treatment for everything now, and it's wonderful. It's supposed to be this safety factor when the stats just don't pan out to that at all. That it is the leading killer of accidental deaths in the U.S. is just where we are right now.
Prescription pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. I mean, you could say they're accidental, yes, but when you're outweighing traffic fatalities and you're now #1, you cannot say FDA-approved drugs just automatically are safe. So drug court for me was the beginning. And
you went through an evaluation for
Went through an evaluation, and I was just very honest with them that I was not going to take their drugs. You cannot just sit in the back of a room in drug court and go through it as a probation, just to go through it because you don't want to go to jail. You have to participate. You're being graded. You're being constantly tested. You have to show up many, many hours. It's like 9 hours a week, and then your probation officer on the weekends. They do give you the drugs for free. They're taxpayers pay for that. But each and every step of the way, you're paying for these doctors that they say, these Kevin Sabat-trained doctors, if you will. Really where they get their information from. And you were the one who sent me to go see Kevin Sabat, and that really changed my life. I went there to actually hear the truth about marijuana and to make a contribution and to try to have some input to find out what it really was, which Ed Fortune enlightened me at the end of that 4 hours who he was, because I really didn't know. I thought this was an honest discussion about marijuana itself. So learning where their doctors and probation doctors and even jailers, these doctors get their information from is very clear. They're not doctors at all, and they lie with every breath they can muster about marijuana, and I'm shocked that this just goes on and on and on.
So Kevin Sabat is one of the leading anti-marijuana reform activists in the country. He runs a program with one of the Kennedy brothers called SAM. Is it Sensible Approaches to Marijuana? Or something like that. That is basically opposed to marijuana reform, and he came to New Jersey, and this is one of the programs that you
thank you for
and you listened.
There are others. Botticello, the deputy director of basically what we know about drugs and how it's listed in all your books comes from him, of drug policy in America. This man is just as clueless, and he has been steadfast that it's, well, he clearly says it's safer for your kids to do meth, crystal meth, and cocaine and crack than it is to smoke marijuana. He's very adamant about it. I don't know how we can elect these men to run things when this is their stance on drugs in general.
Right. I mean, and it just really puts the lie to the gateway theory too. If marijuana is the gateway to more dangerous drugs, but marijuana is considered a Schedule I drug, and it's right up there with the most dangerous drugs. There are no more dangerous drugs than marijuana, according to the federal government.
It's hard to believe.
So, it's certainly marijuana has been misclassified and continues to be misclassified since the 1970s Controlled Substances Act, when it was first established as a Schedule I drug. And that was only supposed to be temporarily until the studies were in. When the studies came in, they found that marijuana should not be classified as a Schedule I drug, and yet President Nixon ignored the results of that Schaefer Commission that he appointed.
That was a shame.
And it continues, and they continue up until 2011 was the last formal response by the Drug Enforcement Administration to reschedule marijuana to a less onerous schedule, and they rejected that as well. So it still goes on, and the draconian penalties that are associated with marijuana still continue to this day and are supported by the fact that the government considers it among the most dangerous drugs in the country, despite the fact that it has never resulted in a death by overdose. And it has a safety profile that is the envy of most pharmaceutical drugs. Really,
in its pure form, it really is just the tops. And they do specify that through all the data. I mean, you can read all the tetrahydrocannabinol data all you want. And the gist of it is, in its purest form, in the top itself, or the hash, is the really flawless. I am very weary of concentrates and the things they're doing with marijuana now. I mean, coca is the perfect example. You can chew coca leaf your whole adult life, and you virtually have no adverse side effects whatsoever, and you're going to live to 100 years old. The second you purify it, one inhalation can give you a heart attack. I don't believe marijuana is just like that, but it is an analogy that should be considered. Plants left in their natural state, and this goes with opium too. There's far more latitude with opium than there is with concentrates like morphine and heroin. But this is never discussed. These plants are just demonized, and yet people don't know they're using them. You know, the lack of education with the history of drugs themselves, which is really what way I'm going to be working my case. The historical data with marijuana is so overwhelming. It's so wonderful. And it's literally been snuffed out of the history books. Dictionary definitions of hemp have been changed where you have to look up the definition from the definition. They've literally gotten into the new Bibles and worked on some of the Bibles. They have gone through painstaking lengths to change the language to keep marijuana something to the people who use it, where law enforcement, it's now a public safety issue. We are a public safety issue. This is where they have a real problem, and I'm not going to let them have this. Chris Christie says, I'm killing children. He says, I mean, this man can just stand up there and say whatever he wants to do, and if he arrests somebody or people using illicit drugs, he's going to make sure by force they are using the FDA-approved drugs to get well. I think this is extremely dangerous. That you can just stand up and say whatever you want without a shred of physical evidence, without a body or a death certificate, just randomly reel this stuff off about people like me who grow this plant. Where are the dead kids? Where are the death certificates? They just, I mean, you can't get behind a microphone and he's talking to America. I am not. How are people supposed to get accurate information? We need more growers to come forward and talk about marijuana. It is us that are the experts on this plant. If you've done it as long as I have, and you're honest about it, your data is just over decades. It's over years of seeing people use it, and when they suggest I grow a plant that's killing my girlfriend or killing members of my family or my best friends, that I would do that, well, you're going to have to deal with me face to face about these issues. I'm not killing my friends and my girlfriend. It's not what I do. I don't grow dangerous plants.
No, obviously. And of course,
and none of us do.
Right.
None of us do.
Even the state of New Jersey recognizes that marijuana has therapeutic qualities.
Finally.
It it was quite a struggle. In 2005, we got the bill introduced in New Jersey to for the state of New Jersey to recognize medical marijuana, and it took 5 years to get through the legislature. But finally, in 2010, we did get this medical marijuana bill passed, and unfortunately, Governor Christie came on board, and of course, as you mentioned, he's been a firm opponent of any type of marijuana reform. In fact, he calls all medical marijuana programs, and there are 23 states that have medical marijuana programs, he calls all such programs just a front for legalization. So it's no surprise that he's been delaying and impeding the full implementation of the medical marijuana program to such an extent that our organization, the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, has come out in support of full legalization, for growers like yourself.
How about federal scheduling? I mean, to me, removal of marijuana from the scheduling, until marijuana is equal to tobacco and alcohol, it's never really legal.
It should be descheduled altogether.
I mean, but I don't like the idea of like I'm sick or I'm using this for a medical purpose, when really I just use a very small amount of it when I come home from work to relax, as opposed to drinking wine or beer.
Well, the Israeli scientist Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, who first identified THC back in the 1960s, he said that one of the important qualities of marijuana was that it did help you to forget. I mean, imagine the example he used was, imagine if you could not forget every face you met on the subway when you're on a subway, you know. You know, forgetting is really as important as remembering, and it also helps, and that quality is one of the things that helps people who are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder to deal with their painful memories. So, and
it's not Seconal, it's not Tuinal. You're not dealing with these things. Yeah, these drugs work also, but wow. You're going to be asleep for 2 days.
Drug court was not an option for you. Just
not till after the evaluation.
I was surprised to learn that you had to pay for drug court. There are costs that are involved in that the client or the person participating in drug court has to absorb out of his own pocket.
Yes.
So
they have every name for them you could imagine. What it is small increments of payments over a long period of time, as opposed to giving you one lump sum, which gives you a heart attack. But the problem with drug court is, if you ever relapse or you just end up doing this drug again, you do start the program over, right from scratch. So it's almost, and if you hang on in drug court and watch, it's really sad seeing people who are ripped off the streets and now have to pretend they're ill. If you are not in trouble and you admit yourself for some intervention to get better, I mean, the success rates are very, very small. You cannot force people to get off of drugs because now you're going to go to prison. They already knew they were going to go to prison. But in drug court, with marijuana, just know if you do test positive, you're going to go to jail and start the program over again. This is what you signed on to. This is a long-term, aggressive rehabilitation. This goes on 3 days a week, 3 hours a session. What are you supposed to talk about in there with these people? About how sick you are? You have to be sick to be in. You have to show up and test positive, or you won't get in.
So it's not an option for you.
Not for me. For I understand that. Look, I didn't last 48 hours in jail. I had a nervous breakdown, and I understand that option of drug court. And everyone's going to take it. I'm just trying to give a warning that this is not probation. You are literally committing yourself. You're out of control and can't control your body and your life. You're giving it to them. And they're serious about their work. They get paid a lot of money to do it. 10 years from now, when they go over the analysis of marijuana treatment, they're going to have ironclad evidence that they're treating it successfully, and they're going to take this right to the top, and they're never going to lift that federal ban, because forever you're going to have documentation of treatment for marijuana use disorder, which doesn't exist, on paper, signed, tens, hundreds of thousands of people. They can just simply say to you on the television, we're treating it successfully. There is a problem. Look at all the people admitting themselves. I'm trying to get this federal ban eliminated, because it's not really legal in any state as long as the feds can come in and take you, just shake you down whenever they please.
No, that's true.
But now, reality.
So now you're going to trial, and you have a trial date established October 20th at the court is going to be in the Hooper Avenue Court in Toms River, and at 9 a.m. on the 20th. But the jury selection is going to take place on October 19th, the day before it. October 20th.
That makes sense to me.
It's a Tuesday. October 20th is a Tuesday. That's when your trial is scheduled to begin. And now, and you're taking this and you're fighting this, and you're hoping that obviously the jury will return a not guilty verdict.
Yes, we are This case is a little different than most. Well, there aren't a lot of nullification cases, especially with marijuana. We're not arguing the evidence at all. We're just letting it go.
You've admitted that.
Yes, but I mean, we're literally not getting into it at all. We're not. I've already discussed this with my attorney. We have a hybrid case. I'm going to come out and talk to the jury.
No, wait. Now, so you have an attorney. You have a public defender. Who's representing you. But
yes.
You're actually representing yourself, but
partially
with the assistance of a public defender. Is
yes.
that how it works, John?
She'll do the cross-examination. I'll do the opening statement, maybe the closing. I have to see how well she does. But the public defender's office has been great with me and very, very patient. I mean, I'm not an easy person to deal with. I come at everybody and accuse everybody, including them, of what they do in the hallways of the courts in this state. They just plea bargain people's lives out till there's nothing left, and everybody goes home and has dinner and plays with their kids. They, in a way, probably should have threw me out of the building. And instead, they all seem to be backing me up here and maybe just wanting to come clean with what's really going on in the courts, in the hallways of these courts, which is just, it's just a money vacuum and not any regard at all for the lives that are attached to these financial burdens and prison that they put on basically innocent people. I think it's finally starting to come around now, and the only way to do this is to stand up for it and to get in there and talk to a jury. They're going to add decades to your sentence. They're going to add decades. They don't want anybody talking to juries. I absolutely am sure of this. Most attorneys won't go to trial, mainly because they never do, and they're uncomfortable doing them. It's actually work. They have to work for a living, which is something they don't like to do. Like most people, let's get this done fast. So plea bargaining is the new America. Again, I can't tell you how dangerous this is.
You note that less than 3% of all felony cases go to trial.
No, and drug cases far less than that. It's basically zero. I mean, you don't go in and say, I did it, let me go. But essentially that's what I'm doing, because I'm hoping, like alcohol prohibition was very, very similar, that people will say, yeah, it's just marijuana, it's just cannabis. This man is a stand-up guy, and yeah, he did this on the side, and yeah, he admits to making a little money from it. But you know, I'm not on welfare. Growing marijuana is work. It's hard labor. This isn't just me cheating the system and going online and hacking money out of people's accounts. I mean, I'm out there busting my ass, and every grower is.
But isn't it very difficult to raise a jury nullification case? I mean, lawyers are forbidden to discuss jury nullification during a trial. That's why only you, a non-lawyer, can even discuss the possibility of nullifying a law. Now, what jury nullification is when a defendant is technically guilty of the charge, and everyone recognizes that the defendant did the acts that he was accused of doing, but they nevertheless return and not guilty. The jury nevertheless returns a not guilty.
Correct.
So you know, for that, I mean, the judges in New Jersey particularly caution jurors against trying to decide against the law.
My rapport with the judge is unknown at this time. I have been, and I really haven't spoken with the prosecutor at all. I more or less just ignore him. The judge is very, very important in this, and with a judge who looks like to me he enjoys hanging people, gave me some latitude, allowed me to speak out loud, allowed me to actually get involved before trial, a little bit of conversation with him, which, for what I observed in that court, is extremely rare. You don't ever talk to these judges. You stand up straight, you put a suit on, and you do what you're told, and you get the hell out of there. They move on to the next case. So he knows I'm a little bit different, where I'm very passionate about, like, why am I not taking these plea deals one after another after another? I can see the confusion on his face, but I think now we're getting to the point where he knows I just want to talk to these 12 people. And I want to send a clear message to not just the state of New Jersey, but to everybody that juries will not convict peaceful marijuana cases. That you can simply walk in and say, yes, I grew these plants. Yes, I sold this jar to my friends of marijuana, and I do this on the side for a living. And be able to walk in there and be honest about it. And at the very least, not have to go to jail for decades of your life. You could at least go in there and, I mean, basically you're not begging for mercy, but you're asking for it. What is so far-fetched about feeling that that's not possible? A lot of people tell me it's not. These are conservative people, and they're interested in the letter of the law, and they're going to listen to the judge, and they're not going to care about you. I disagree, and that's what we're going to find out during my case. It's really, really simple. Will they convict or won't they? And it's huge. If they let me go, it just does send a clear message that you can be honest about what you did. You can go in there and cop to what you did, because what you did is so utterly peaceful. Mm-hmm. How on earth could you be prosecuting it this way? How could you be coming at anyone involved with marijuana with jail at all? If I was growing tobacco out there, I would have received a ticket. This particular plant kills 500,000 people a year. How on earth can you come at me with a plant that doesn't do any of that with decades in jail?
What ended alcohol prohibition really was when jurors refused to convict people who were convicted.
Jury nullification personified. Yeah. I mean, get real, that's it.
Up to 60% of
exactly,
the cases that were brought by prosecutors for people who were involved in the illegal production and transportation of alcohol were nullified by the jurors. So that was one of the things that just led them to believe that they were trying to enforce an unenforceable law, a law that the majority of Americans did not want. And so we certainly hope that the jurors in your case will agree that the laws against marijuana are outdated and do more harm than good to our society, John. And,
I hope so.
And I certainly admire your courage in bringing this to the courthouse. And you know, I intend to be there to watch this trial unfold, and I would encourage other viewers to come out and support you, because sometimes it really does make a difference. You know, we've been involved in other cases, and the judge notices, you know, how much community support the defendants have in this. So I really encourage people to come out and support you, John, and I want to wish you the best of luck in your upcoming trial. For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey, from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for...
Every 42 seconds, someone in this country is arrested for marijuana.
Chaque 42 secondes, il y a arrêté un monde pour marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana. It could be you.